There's no place for a demoted old man.
Back at the bank's headquarters after 13 years, those were the first words Laura said to me. Clearly a new hire. It's understandable that a newcomer wouldn't know who I am. Still, Laura's attitude was excessively disrespectful. How can you say such harsh things without even introducing ourselves to each other?
Unlike someone like you at the bottom of society, I'm smart and successful. Naturally, I don't want to be lectured by someone who's just grown old without achieving anything.
Her loud voice echoed through the bank before opening hours, causing the staff around us to glance over in alarm. Just as I was about to give her a piece of my mind, I heard the sound of high heels approaching. Jennifer, my beautiful secretary, hurried over.
Michael, your office is this way. We have a lot of work piled up, so please come quickly.
I responded to Jennifer. Then, I looked back at Laura, and her expression had completely changed. She no longer looked down on me. Instead, she appeared tense and strained. Yet, she still didn't realize. She would come to regret this day for the rest of her life. My name is Michael, and I'm 60 years old. My family was so poor that even ensuring daily meals was a struggle. My dad was born with a weak constitution and had to be selective about his work. My mom balanced childcare and housework, so she couldn't get a full-time job, and her salary was low. Even so, I feel I was raised without any major hardships. They even managed to get me through college, which seemed impossible, and I was able to attend grad school by covering the tuition myself. Driven by a strong desire to repay my parents, I dedicated myself entirely to my studies. I was determined to get a good job to make them feel secure. Since my student life was all about studying, I was sometimes resented by classmates for my academic success. But thanks to my efforts, I landed a job as a banker right out of college, which was a real blessing. Working at the bank was honestly tough. Since I was handling other people's money, mistakes weren't allowed. Coming from a poor family, I felt I understood the value of money more than most. But being overly cautious, I was slow at counting money, and the stress exhausted me mentally. What saved me was a senior colleague, John. Unlike me, he was a lively person, unaffected by nerves. At 38 years old at the time, he seemed to handle his job with ease, likely due to his experience.
Michael, I heard you miscounted money again. I saw you apologizing to the customers several times from a distance.
Yes. When dealing with large sums, I get so nervous my fingers slip. The customer wasn't angry, but I felt so bad.
Handling money, I realized how unfamiliar I was with it. Feeling this way daily, I ended up asking John.
Am I not suited for this job?
Yeah, you're not.
John, who had somehow gotten hold of a can of coffee, took a sip and replied,
But don't get the wrong idea. I'm not suited for this job either.
That's not true. You've been here for years and have great results.
That's because I worked hard, not because I'm suited for it. Reaching my level is possible with effort. It's not about being suited or not.
Then he took another canned coffee from his suit pocket and handed it to me.
Even though you realize you're not good at it, you're working hard to overcome it. That's amazing. If you can't recognize your own efforts, you won't be suited for any job, not just banking.
John tossed the empty coffee can into the trash and stretched, his spine cracking.
First, acknowledge yourself, then put in the effort. If you do that, you'll make progress, even if it's little by little. At the very least, I only treat coffee to those I respect.
He gave me a firm pat on the back and smiled brightly, showing his white teeth.
Our jobs isn't about money. It's about our customers. Customers who have worked hard to earn their money. If you're scared of the money, look at the people. It'll help ease your nerves a bit, I think.
The words John said to me at that time have stayed with me for decades. Meeting a senior like John was truly a stroke of luck for me. Since then, my fear and anxiety about handling money have lessened compared to before. I can't say I've completely overcome it, but that's okay with me. And so, I've worked at this local bank for 10 years. Honestly, I even considered dedicating my entire career here, but then it happened suddenly. One day, I was unexpectedly ordered to transfer to the head office. Thanks to John, my work had been going well, and though it might sound conceited, I believe I had been delivering results. However, I was surprised because I never imagined I'd be recognized for it.
That's great, Michael. I'm getting promoted too, so everything's looking up.
Despite John's happiness, I couldn't bring myself to smile back.
I'm happy about the transfer to the head office. But I love this bank, and I want to learn more from you, John.
Come on, how long are you going to think of yourself as a newbie? A guy over 30 shouldn't be saying that. It's your turn to teach others now. Show everyone at the head office what you're capable of.
No matter how old I got, being around John made me feel like I was still a newcomer. If he was around, he would listen to my concerns and give me advice about work. He had perspectives I didn't, and even though he was generous to me, he always provided thorough guidance. It was only natural to feel anxious about leaving someone like that.
This is your hometown, right? You'll probably come back here someday. It might take a few years, but when you do, tell me all about your time at the head office. So, don't make such a sad face.
He gave me another strong pat on the back as encouragement. The thought of not hearing his laughter or feeling that familiar sensation for a while made me feel a bit lonely. Even so, I headed to the head office with pride, determined not to disgrace myself as his proud protege. The head office was in a big city, completely different from my hometown, and everything about my work and personal life felt fresh and new. Though it was mentally exhausting at times, my experience at the head office was undoubtedly valuable. I became more efficient at handling numerous tasks, learned sales techniques, and worked on deals involving sums of money I had never encountered before. If the younger me could see this, he might have fainted. But I managed at the head office thanks to John's words.
It's not about the money. It's about the customers. Never lose your sincerity to anyone.
Sometimes I was laughed at for being a country boy, but that was a point of pride, not shame for me. Despite the frustrations, I never wavered in my commitment to my work. As I continued living like this, the number of people laughing at me gradually decreased. After 3 years, no one was laughing at me anymore. After 5 years, the person who was once at the top told me I was their rival. After 10 years, I was surrounded by juniors who looked up to me. Every day was fulfilling. After many successes and failures, 15 years passed. At 47, I was suddenly called in by the higher upas. They asked if I would become the bank president. The previous president was retiring, and they were looking for a successor, and I was the one they chose. Hearing that many people had recommended me, I almost cried, feeling truly blessed by those around me. I wanted to report this to John, so that night, for the first time in years, I called him. John's voice, when he answered, sounded weaker compared to before. While I was happy to hear his voice again, I also felt the sadness of time passing. "Hi, John," It's been a while. It's Michael. Do you remember me?
Of course, I remember you. I was more worried that you might have forgotten about me.
After a bit of small talk, I told him about my promotion. John, overjoyed as if it were his own success, started coughing heavily.
Wow, I knew you'd become a great banker, but I never thought you'd climb so high. You've done well.
It's also thanks to the support of those around me. But that cough doesn't sound good. Are you not feeling well? When I asked, John, unusually thoughtful, said,
Actually, I haven't been feeling well. I'm almost 60 after all. It's no surprise my body's starting to give out. I'd like to retire, but there's such a shortage of people in this rural area that I can't seem to step down. I'll have to push my body a bit longer.
According to him, the number of employees had dropped to about a third of what it was when I was there. The aging workforce was a major cause. John had also become the branch manager there, and because of his responsibilities, he couldn't leave. I'll come back there. It's not worth being in a high position if I can't help my hometown bank.
Idiot, you have a chance to rise at the head office. There's no need to come back. The salary here is much lower compared to the head office. You might cry.
I chuckled a bit at John's attempt to dissuade me. What are you talking about? I don't work for the money. I work for the people, since someone taught me that. John stopped arguing and sighed.
Well, you were taught by a stubborn person, but thank you. Nothing could make me feel more at ease than you coming back.
In the end, I declined the promotion at the head office and requested a transfer back to my hometown bank. The higher-ups were quite troubled, but after understanding the local bank's situation, they reluctantly agreed. In exchange for allowing the transfer, I was given one condition. I had to gain the necessary experience and knowledge to become a president and then return to the head office. I was prepared to lose my place, so I was honestly surprised by the offer. Thank you. I will definitely rebuild my hometown bank, and then I will return to repay the favor. And so, after 15 years, I returned to my hometown. 13 years later, I succeeded John as the bank's leader and ensured a solid successor was in place. These years, long yet short, were often challenging, but everything was worth it when John, now with more wrinkles and gray hair, offered his words of encouragement.
You did great. I'm lucky to have someone like you look up to me. When you retire, come back here. Let's have a drink as friends, not as co-worker.
That sounds amazing. I'm looking forward to it. After a firm handshake with John, I headed back to the head office once again. The current president was retiring, and I was to take over. Even though I had plenty of experience, I wasn't entirely sure what to expect in such a crucial role. I was assigned a secretary, but no matter my age, some things still made me nervous. On my first day, I arrived early, thinking I'd clean up the office a bit. When I got there, several employees were already at their desks, hard at work, and I admired their dedication. Everyone is so diligent. Just as I thought that, a high-pitched voice suddenly spoke behind me.
You're new here, aren't you? You're in the way.
I turned around to see a woman dressed in flashy clothes that seemed out of place for a banker, standing with her arms crossed. The strong perfume was a bit overwhelming.
Was an old guy like you at last week's new hire orientation?
Though her attitude annoyed me a bit, I made sure to respond with a smile. No, I wasn't there for the training since I just started today. I'm Michael, transferred here from a local bank. I used to work here a long time ago, so it's kind of like coming back.
I see. So you got demoted. Did you do something bad? You don't look too impressive.
I was left speechless as she laughed through her nose. I had reviewed the employee records beforehand, so I glanced at her name tag and remembered she was a new hire named Laura. How did someone so rude get hired? Has the shortage of workers gotten this bad? Thinking this, I sighed. Realizing that I needed to focus more on new employee training, I turned to leave, but Laura suddenly grabbed my shoulder and pulled me back.
What are you doing? Since you're here, go buy me a coffee from the nearby vending machine.
Why should I do that? Sorry, but I don't have time to entertain you. I need to get back to my desk. People are waiting for me. My secretary was about to arrive, so I had to head to the president's office. Yet Laura tightened her grip on my shoulder.
There's no place for a demoted old man here. Just do as you're told. Unlike you, I graduated from a top university. If you keep that attitude with a future star like me, you'll be sent back to the sticks again.
Just as I was struggling with Laura's smug grin, I heard the click of high heels approaching from a distance. The woman noticed me and waved enthusiastically.
Michael, your office is this way. I've been looking for you.
Jennifer hurried over and stepped between Laura and me. Her name is Jennifer. She's the secretary I mentioned earlier. Jennifer was 35 according to her resume, but she was so strikingly beautiful that it made Laura seem plain in comparison.
Why is the president's secretary? Wait, you mean this old guy is the president?
Who is this young woman?
Jennifer gave Laura a quick, dismissive glance. Intimidated but still defiant, Laura snapped back at Jennifer.
Who? I'm Laura. I graduated from a university so prestigious even you should know it. Remember your colleagues' names.
Apologies. I have a hard time remembering people whose only distinguishing feature is their alma mater.
Even I was taken aback by Jennifer's cold tone. Jennifer, I appreciate your support, but please let it go. She's new to the workforce, so she has a lot to learn.
If you say so, Michael, but don't you think you're being too lenient? She was incredibly disrespectful to her superior, even if she didn't know.
Jennifer gave Laura a piercing look, but stopped when I gently reminded her. Growth includes making mistakes. I aim to foster an environment that values people, so please cooperate. And Laura, it's fine to be confident, but without humility and consideration for others, excelling in your career will be challenging. Laura clenched her jaw in frustration and returned to her desk without a word. I'm a bit worried about the start, but since I've been appointed, I have to give it my all. With renewed determination, I headed back to the president's office with Jennifer. A few months passed, and the once new employees had become proficient, handling sales and reception duties. Watching these initially clumsy employees gain confidence through practice was heartwarming, reminding me of my younger self. I tried to stay close to the employees, eating lunch in the cafeteria and inviting those with concerns out for a meal to listen to them. Thanks to these efforts, employees at all levels started coming to me for advice. No matter my position, my ideal was always to be a boss like John, so I was happy to be relied upon. However, Jennifer sometimes pouted a bit, looking slightly displeased.
Oh, Michael, you've been very busy as an advisor to your subordinates lately. Aren't you overdoing it with your own work still to handle?
I enjoy doing it, so it's no problem. Besides, I have a reliable secretary like you.
Please save such compliments for after work. Hearing them now makes me too giddy to focus.
Blushing, Jennifer left the office to organize some files. As if waiting for the moment, someone knocked on the door. When I answered, it was Laura who came in. It's rare to see you here, Laura. Is everything okay?
Actually, I have something I'd like to ask you. Is that all right?
Laura stood before me with a demeanor so polite it was hard to believe she was the same person from the first day. It seems she has reflected on her actions. Feeling pleased, I put down the documents I was holding. Of course, ask me anything.
It's about sales.
As she spoke, I remembered last month's sales performance. Since last month, the new employees had started doing sales, but Laura was the only one out of 10 newcomers who hadn't secured a single contract. It's normal for beginners to struggle at first. The others did well, which was impressive, but apparently, Laura didn't see it that way.
Isn't it strange that I'm the only one with bad results? Maybe someone is spreading rumors about me and driving the clients away.
Wait, are you serious? I asked to be sure, and Laura nodded earnestly. Laura, our job is about dealing with people. First and foremost, we need to have empathy for our clients. Those who achieved results did so through their own hard work. It's not right to suspect foul play.
I am doing my job properly. But if I'm not getting results, it must be because someone is sabotaging me.
As her tone became more casual, I couldn't help but sigh. Showing too much emotion and being self-centered might be apparent in your business dealings as well. It's important to chase numbers, but you mustn't forget to empathize with the client.
If I don't get the numbers, I'm useless.
As long as you're striving to get them, it's potential for growth. It doesn't make you useless. Just as she was about to argue back, Jennifer returned. Jennifer's face showed a brief look of annoyance, but she quickly composed herself.
Well, Laura, was it? If you need something from Michael, please be brief. His schedule is packed.
No, I'm done here. I'll be heading back.
Laura gave me one last glare before leaving the room.
Is everything all right with Laura? Despite her impressive background, her performance hasn't been great.
She has ambition. I'm not too worried about her sales numbers, but I am concerned. She doesn't seem to take my advice seriously. I've seen many people burn out by focusing too much on numbers. It's not uncommon for someone to work so hard that they neglect their health. But with her, it seemed different. Unfortunately, the intuition I hoped was wrong became a reality a few months later. The month after our encounter in the president's office, Laura leaped to the top, doubling the performance of her peers. While others praised her, Laura became increasingly arrogant. When asked for tips by her peers, she would shrug dramatically and shake her head.
There are no tips. I'm smart and good-looking, so it's easy for me to make deals. It's something ordinary people can't do.
Her attitude led to fewer and fewer applause for her each month. No matter how hard everyone else worked, Laura continued to effortlessly stay ahead of them. However, her seemingly magical success was revealed just a few months later. It all started with a single comment from a customer who suddenly came to the bank.
There's something wrong with the amount on my fixed deposit contract. Could you check it for me?
According to the customer, the deposit amount was double what they had requested each month. When we checked at the counter, we found out that the amount was indeed incorrect. Fortunately, the customer wasn't angry, so we managed to resolve it without issue. However, Laura, who was responsible for the customer, received a stern warning from her supervisor. But that wasn't the end of the story. Following that customer, several others came to the bank with similar issues. The bank was in a state of mild panic. I also went to the scene to help address customer concerns and assess the situation. After completing the work, I noticed a common thread in these problems. All of these customers were handled by Laura for their fixed deposit accounts. I immediately called her in to discuss it. Instead of feeling remorseful, Laura proudly said,
Customers are really easy to fool. As long as I look cute, they look at my face instead of the documents. So, I just tweak the numbers a bit while they're distracted. It's an easy way to get more contracts.
"Do you realize that what you're doing is dishonest?"
Dishonest? That's such a negative way to put it. It's just a little creative thinking. I'm not asking for outrageous amounts. Sure, some people canceled, but others continued, right? It's a small amount.
She kept repeating childish excuses like, "It's just a little," and they signed in the end, which finally made me angry. Don't be ridiculous. You can't deceive customers and think that's acceptable.
The sales results are good. Isn't that what matters?
That's not what I'm talking about. I slammed my desk in frustration. After taking a deep breath to calm down, I continued more quietly. I don't focus on results. If you work hard and stay diligent, you will achieve them sooner or later. What I can't forgive is acting with money as your only concern.
Maybe so, but isn't it worse to have employees who can't bring in profits? Before getting mad at me, you should be angry at those underperforming employees.
Seeing her smile without a hint of remorse, I finally lost all hope. "You're clearly going to continue being this way. I can't handle this. I'm letting you go effective immediately."
What? What are you saying all of a sudden?
Laura's face turned pale as she rushed towards me, ready to grab me.
You just hate me, don't you? Firing me over something so trivial makes no sense. Take it back.
"I can't forgive you for deceiving and mocking our customers to collect money. I've told you repeatedly to focus on the people, not the numbers." As I stared back at her without changing my expression, Laura laughed weakly and pushed me.
Fine. Someone like me will have no problem finding another job. I'll get hired somewhere better and ruin this bank. Just you wait.
She stormed out of the room, practically kicking the door open, and Jennifer came in looking worried.
Michael, are you hurt?
"I'm fine, thank you." As she straightened my tie, Jennifer murmured anxiously,
Do you think Laura might cause trouble?
"If she does, I'll do everything in my power to protect everyone. Don't worry." Being the president means protecting both employees and customers. I swore that to myself, thinking John would definitely say the same thing. In the end, Laura never appeared before me again. According to rumors, she applied to several companies but was rejected everywhere due to her dismissal from the bank. Unable to pay her rent, she ended up living in a rundown apartment nearby. With her personality, she had no friends to help her, and she worked multiple part-time jobs at supermarkets and construction sites to get by. Thinking that her fate could have been different if she had shown even a bit of empathy at any point in her life left me feeling quite sad. As for me, since I dealt with Laura's misconduct early on, the bank didn't lose trust. I continued to share meals and provide support to the now somewhat brighter employees. Maybe now, I've come a bit closer to being a dependable presence like John. With that thought, I feel a sense of fulfillment despite the challenges. When I go back home next time, I'll be able to hold my head high. Thinking this, I watched the sunset over my hometown from the office window.